Hello internet, Yulia speaking, and today we're going to talk about all the things that I'm currently reading because this is starting to get ridiculous. It's not that I'm in a reading slump, because I don't want to call it that. I can't seem to keep my attention on a single book. I keep starting new things when I really shouldn't be. And I need to talk about it so I can finally just get off my ass and read all these things. Some of the things that I'm currently reading aren't even here because they're just in every single home and I can't keep up with them anymore. I keep moving place and I'm like, okay, let's read all the books that are here before I leave again, and then I don't have time, so I'm in the middle of a bunch of things, and then we go to the next place and I'm like, okay, let's read all the books that are here, and then I start things again, and it's an endless cycle that I just need to end. So let's start from like the thing that I've been reading for longest, Empire of Storms. And this one actually has a story behind it. I'm like basically done with it. I'm on chapter 67, and the problem here was that I hate, this is one thing that if anything you know about me, this is the one thing you probably should know. I hate reading series before they're actually finished. And this isn't just with books, it's also with film series, it's with like TV shows. I can't. I need to be sure that the happy ending is in sight, and if it isn't, then I just can't. I panic too much, I care too much about the characters, and that's kind of what happened here, because I got to this point in the book and shit started going down and I had to read spoilers. I'm sorry, but I had to. So I know that things don't go fantastically, and like I know this isn't the last book, so I shouldn't like be that worried about it because I have faith in Sarah J. Maas. But I couldn't put myself through that pain and then have to wait like 2 years, because last time I picked this up it was 2016. It's already been 2 years. There's another book that came out, the Kale's version or something, and it like a novella but like a book, and it was very confusing, and I wasn't gonna pick that up initially because I'm just not a fan of Kale. Honestly, I'm probably just in there for the ships mainly, and Kale just so essentially this is just on hold until all the books are out and there's a finale, and I can take a deep breath and hope for the best and just read through it. So I'm not even gonna bother finishing this right now, to be honest. It's kind of bad because I don't remember what was going on except for how it ends, which is the part that I didn't read. It's the part that I got spoiled about, well, you know, by myself. I just read them, the spoilers. It's not like someone spoiled me. Anyways, this is probably not getting finished until like 2020. Is that when the next one's going out? Maybe 2019. I don't know. Just when they're all out and I can breathe a bit easier. Okay, so the next one that I've been reading longest, or not reading, that is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Basically last summer I was trying to go through the Harry Potter series and I was really committed to it for a hot second there. And I went through the first 3 books, and in comparison to like this, those are really tiny. Like the first 3 books, 2 of them are probably this one book. And I just don't know, I don't think I got scared when I saw this one because I do like big books. I knew that I had to leave for the rest of the summer and I'm not gonna drag this beautiful collector's edition anywhere, and it's just gonna sit on the shelf over there. So I kind of went like 81 pages in before any of the story really kicked off, because I can tell like this is where they start getting intense. Like the first 3 were just kind of, those were the kids ones, and now like they're growing up, and I feel like this is where I'm gonna actually start caring, because before like I was interested but I wasn't feeling like what all the obvious hype is about. So I just kind of put this down before I got truly hooked, and now it's been like a year and I need to get back to that, but again, I only have a week. So I get the feeling this is gonna wait until December now. Yeah. Next up, I've got this Russian book, essentially translated as about love and death. I don't think this has an English translation, and it's a very unusual book. It has the front here and then also here, and in the middle there's one page where things go upside down and you just switch to the other side of the book. Yeah, so on this page it's all right side up, and then you turn and it's all suddenly upside down. So yeah, I started reading this thing in 2015 and I haven't been able to get through it for 3 years. This is a tiny book. I don't know why. I think it's because it's all short stories and they're very unconventional and weird, and I just take it a little bit at a time. So last time I read this was February of this year, and I made some significant progress, but I want to finish it already because I want to start some different Russian books. I feel like this just isn't helping with my reluctance to read anything in Russian. I want to get to something more interesting, and I feel like I can't do that until I finish this one. So this I am going to really try and finish before I go abroad again, because I need to for my mental sanity. Okay, next up is this little book called The Gospel of Loki, and it's essentially Norse mythology, and it follows Loki through like just his myth. It's pretty interesting because I do know some things about Norse mythology, and like I'm a huge fan of the Avengers, so like you need to know a couple things there, you know, especially seeing as Ragnarok is like my favorite movie. But this is kind of different, and I'm not sure if I love it or not, because Loki in the MCU is like my favorite character ever. I know that a lot of the stuff that's mentioned in the Avengers films is obviously not completely correct and like with whatever the mythology says, so that's why I was pretty curious to pick this one up and get some of like the cool weird backstory that always appears in mythology, and I was really enjoying it. I just seem to get bored a bit with it. I don't know if it's necessarily a bit more of a historical style, because Loki in it is super witty, and being in his brain is really weird and interesting and really fun, but it's not like personal. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not completely connected. I want to care for the character, but right now he's just kind of amusing. So yeah, I want to finish this one too. It's pretty short and I'm pretty sure I can finish it. I just need to kind of sit down and say like, okay, we're gonna go through this, we're gonna read it. Next up is another series that I started. I have no idea why, because I'm not gonna be able to finish it anywhere in the near future. The Heir Chronicles, I believe. This is the Warrior Heir, the first one. I started this one pretty excited about the idea. Like, what I knew about it is that it focused on a world where everyone's standing in society was based on what kind of heart you had, something like that. Like, you could be a warrior, a wizard, a sorcerer, an enchanter, and I think there was something else, but that's beside the point. Basically, I was just really curious about the world and how that works, but once I started reading it, I just kind of, I mean, I'm not very far into it, so I don't know so far. Like, I'm 70 pages in. That seems to like come up a lot in here. I don't know if I'm just getting distracted, but I'm around 70 to 80 pages in to everything, and I don't like it. Basically, I got into it, and it wasn't necessarily slow, but again, I have a thing where I need to feel really connected to the characters and really care, and I need them to have relationships, and I need them to have like little pauses where things are light and not life or death. I got into it, and then I probably had to leave, or like I couldn't take the book with me, and because it is a 5-book series, which, yeah, I've got the rest here, and it's a lot of books to try and remember about if I keep like leaving them behind, so I kind of stopped while I was not that invested. Need to get to this soon. Then I'm also currently reading 2 webcomics on Legend. I don't know how to pronounce the app, but I'm gonna put a little picture of it here. Basically, I'm currently reading The Lady and Her Butler and An Innocent Sin, and I think I'm just not particularly focused on them. Like, the webcomics are sort of a thing that I read when I'm feeling it, and I'm not like completely invested in the story, and I'm not annoyed about that, because it's just something that I can carry around with me everywhere. It doesn't depend on like a physical book that I need to have somewhere. And I've kind of gotten to the point where I read all the free episodes, and these things are kind of expensive, so I'm uncertain if I'm going to be spending that much money on webcomics for now. So I'm kind of quite happy to keep these in my currently reading. The Lady and Her Butler is essentially it's a weird story, as most of the webcomics are, to be honest. This girl buys this new apartment, and there was some kind of issue with like the landlord or whatever, and they kind of have 2 people who thought that they both bought this apartment, but the guy actually went through like this shady deal to get it, and it turns out that he doesn't actually own it, and he doesn't have anywhere else to go. So the girl is like, okay, fine, you can stay here, but only because she thinks that he's actually gay, and he sort of goes along with it because he really needs somewhere to stay. And now they're kind of learning more about each other, and he kind of becomes her housekeeper because he's like a freelancer, and she has this office job, and she's always really busy and doesn't have time to like look after anything. And it has its like cute moments, but I'm not very far in, so I can't tell you whether it's actually good or not. And then An Innocent Sin is mature content. To be honest, I don't even think that I really want to talk about it that much. It's seriously adult content, like to the point where sometimes there is just not much plot, if you get what I mean. I am currently reading it technically, but I basically sped through all the free chapters, and now I don't really think I'm gonna buy any more, but like I'm technically in the middle of the story, and I know they only have like 1 more season of like short episodes left, so once that comes out, like maybe I'll continue, because I was enjoying myself. It was just more of like a guilty pleasure sort of read than like a story that I was really invested in. And then finally, the last thing that I'm currently reading is the Lonely Demon series. I don't know if you can tell, but it's in Russian. In Russian it's called Одинокий демон. I think I'm pretty sure I've talked about this one before, and it was just this interesting sarcastic story of this demon that essentially gets bound in like on Earth, and it sounded like it could be really fun and definitely something different to the weird stories that I was reading in Russian before. So I'm like 4 pages in because I started on a plane ride, and I didn't fall in love with it. I'm so upset because I was looking forward to this one so much, but I think it's because it's like harder to read than English, because in English I would have just like breezed through it. So I think it's just something that I need to get over and try and enjoy myself, even though I keep having to search up words, and it's just really hurting my pride. Oh, and kind of side note, but I'm technically reading this and technically not, but yesterday I found out that To All the Boys I've Loved Before dropped a trailer for the Netflix film, and I was just so excited, and I needed to like watch it now, but I couldn't watch it now because it's not out yet, so I had to reread the book. You know, it was obviously there was no other thing that I could be doing right now. you know, like these 10 books that are in my currently reading pile. I had to reread To All the Boys I've Loved Before. Basically, I reread that and then I forgot that the whole series of books is essentially like one book, because I don't know, I found that the endings there are just very cut off and it doesn't feel like it was the ending. So I just moved on right into the next one, which is P.S. I Still Love You. And I'm currently in the middle of rereading that, but I'm skipping all the family and friendship stuff and just focusing on the romance, because I needed that cute adorableness in my life right now. And yeah, so I don't know if that counts as being like currently reading, but yeah, those are all the things that I am currently reading, or technically not reading but attempting to currently read, and I will update you guys in the near future, hopefully, with my recent reads, and hopefully at least some of these will be in that. Until then, I hope you've enjoyed this. Please like if you did, and subscribe if you want to see more. I normally do bookish and movie and student type things, and I also travel sometimes. Actually, a travel vlog is coming soon, but I'm having a couple issues with how I want to edit it, so I don't really want to release it yet. End of rant. I just lost the bookmark. Ah!